John 4 verse 18. God is perfect and casts out all fear. 1 Corinthians 13 verse 4. God's love is patient and kind toward me. Romans 5 verse 8. God demonstrates. Psalm 3 verse 3. God's love is a shield around me. Micah 7 verse 18. God delights in showing me mercy and love. Psalm 108 verse 4. God's love for me is higher than the heavens. Exodus 15 guides me always. Psalm 9 verse 9. God's love for me is stronghold and refuge. Psalm 147 verse 3. God's love heals and restores me. Isaiah 41 verse 10. God's love for me is greater than my fears. John 14 verse 27. God's love for me provides comfort and peace. Isaiah 54 verse 10. God's love for me is unchanging and everlasting. Psalm 63 verse 3. God's love for me is more precious than anything. Zephaniah 3 verse 17. God's love for me fills me with joy. Psalm 27 verse 1. God's love for me is my salvation. Psalm 88 verse 7. God's love for me is my shield and protection. Jeremiah 29:11. God's love for me renews my strength. Joshua 1 verse 9. God's love for me gives me courage and boldness. Psalm 33 verse 4. God's love for me is faithful and true. Hebrews 6 for me is anchor and hope and guidance. Philippians 4. God's love for me brings me peace in every situation. 2 Corinthians 12 verse 9. God's love for me is my source of strength and power. 2 Corinthians 1 verses 3 to 4. God's love for me provides comfort in times of trouble. Psalm 9 verse 9. God's love for me is my shield and fortress. Isaiah 54 verse 10. God's love for me is everlasting and unchanging. Nehemiah 8 verse 10. God's love for me fills me with joy and strength. Psalm 103 verse 8. God's love for me is patient and enduring. Psalm 23 verse 1. God's love for me is my guide and shepherd. 2 Corinthians 5 verse 17. God's love for me brings me new life. Psalm 103 verse 17. God's love for me is everlasting. Psalm 144 verse 2, God's love for me is my fortress and deliverer. Isaiah 66 verse 13, God's love for me brings me comfort and peace. John 1 verse 5, God's love for me is my light in the darkness. Deuteronomy 7 verse 9, God's love for me is faithful and true. Joshua 1 verse 9, God's love for me gives me courage and strength. Psalm 46 verse 1, God's love for me is my refuge and strength. Isaiah 41 verse 10, God's love for me is greater than any fear. Lamentations 3 verses 22 to 23, God's love for me is steadfast and true. Psalm 103 verses 2 to 4, God's love for me is my healer and redeemer. Jeremiah 29